Hey there, bringing another Payday 2 build video. However, the builds in this video are pretty straightforward. These are all the builds that I've come up with during my own gameplay and done several times on stream just to hard carry myself and everybody in the team to getting all the victories and achievements, whatever is needed. Gonna stay pretty similar format to my previous 5 build video that I had before, but in this case, I'm going to be answering a lot of questions that was posted previously, such as Infamy, DLC, or whatever mods, that sort of thing. So anyways, moving on, I'm just going to be focusing on some key points. The builds in these videos are to primarily focus on team support and weapons that are meant to be used for the latest PC updates. So if you're a console user or still stuck on your PlayStation or Xbox, you know what? I'm gonna have to apologize ahead of time. I like to keep myself up with the current standards, and this is what I'm presenting. So anyways, these builds aren't anything new. Like I said earlier, these are stuff that I came up to help my success in Payday 2. They're just very strong high carry builds for those that want DPS and team support. What I mean by team support is keeping Inspire, having a couple of jokers to help, and maintaining all the good old stuff for damage, such as crits, Zerk, or anything in between. And of course, keeping 9 lives just in case some sudden down or some BS that happens to you in your game. But basically put, these are the stuff that I mostly run on my streams or anytime I play. All these builds can be found on my build guide, and with each of those has full examples with all the skill pages, the video examples, and any other tips and notes in between. I'm going to include some gameplay here, of course, because what's the purpose of a build video without showing it? But I'm not going to show the entire video of the gameplay because some people might get bored or just don't have enough time. And lastly, I want to put out that my mod list is also found in that build guide. It's near the bottom, but then again, for those that want to look for some, oh, what cool feature does he have, or what weird anime thing does this look like, it's all at the bottom. And the most common question is the HUD. The HUD that I use is Vanilla HUD Plus and Void UI, simply because when I'm streaming and broadcasting videos, some people have questions, why do you do it this way? Or why do you have this gun on this particular fashion? It's to answer some of the questions and overall experience of the game for those that are trying to learn or are just simply new to the game. Now for the next section of the video, I'm just going to be highlighting some stuff here. As the title suggests, it's supposed to be for high carry potential builds. But I'm going to lay down some restrictions. First up is no Kingpin or Stoic. Kingpin is no longer available for players that do not have the DLC, or if they're just starting new into Payday 2 for said Death Sentence 1 down difficulty. And of course no Stoic as well, because the perk deck is unbelievably strong and it's super easy to make a build. I can go over the details however, but if you want to get into Death Sentence 1 down difficulty, I'd recommend starting with this build, and my video here kind of gives some details how to do so. At least this will get your foot in the door and get yourself nice and comfy before you start spreading your wings to different things that are more fun or more enjoyable. Another restriction that I like to put on a lot of my builds is no Swan Song, Feign Death, Messiah, whatever. To me, these are handicaps. Sure, it can be fun, but it's extremely risky, and you could frustrate your teammates when they're trying to revive you in case the risks don't pay off. However, the contrary is, since I'm not spending those points into those skills, I have more things to work with DPS and team support. Another thing too is DLC on PC. Like I said, I like to keep things up to date, so if you're missing out on the Legacy Collection, the Silk Road Collection, or some of the Yufang packs, I'd highly recommend it. Besides, this game's more fun with DLC. Not trying to be a sellout for Overkill, but just wait for a Steam sale, and you'll get everything anyways. These builds are using Infamy. So once you get to level 100, you can press the Infamy button, and then once you get to level 100 again, you can get more flexibility into your builds. An example here is trying to reach the tier 4 skill called Inspire. By using Infamy, you can spend 2 less points in order to reach that final tree. So keep in mind when you're doing Infamy, do it for the achievements and do it to learn some of the maps while you go grind it out. Lastly is for anybody else wanting to do Death Sentence 1 down difficulty, I'd highly recommend checking my guide here. I understand the difficulty is not meant for everybody, but once you can find a build that you can make kills with and survive, then you're on your way to performing just well. And it's not just me that has submitted stuff into this guide. There's a bunch of other folks too that have put in their input, their builds, and done just as well. So I'm highly encouraging that you can definitely get up there and not be afraid of said difficulty. So anyways, enough of the verbal, let's get started onto the builds. Starting off with number 5, Anarchist with Lion's Roar Assault Rifle. And the secondary we are using is the Jackal Submachine Gun. Thing about the Lion's Roar Assault Rifle is that its damage has been overtuned with recent updates from Overkill, so it can do just as much as my old KSP LMG setup that I had back in the day. The reason why I like this build so much is because it was great for newer players that just wanted to learn Anarchist. The way Anarchist works is you do damage, you get armor. So the more killing, the more surviving. Pretty simple build, right? Anarchist works best with a suit. Every 2 seconds you gain 10 armor. This allows you to gate more enemy hits because any damage input will deduct from your armor. Even if you have 5 armor, you can survive a big, heavy 225 shot, for example. The only exception are snipers. They will cut through your armor and health together. Going over the skill sets is Standard Inspire, 2 Jokers, having Shotgun Ace to take down shields. Bullseye is optional, but it has saved me in the past, so I still kinda recommend it. Keeping Body Expertise Ace so we can have lots and lots of damage for our weapons needed. Keeping Low Blow Aced and all the silencer attachments to keep stability and accuracy up. This helps our DPS. And finally, 9 Lives Aced, like I said earlier. The trick to this is that there's no damage fall off on the primary, because update 204, all the balance changes that happened, it turns out that assault rifles, snipers are basically number 1 in terms of meta, or just overly used and very strong, and you'll see that within this video. When it came to pistols, shotguns, LMGs, and SMGs, they definitely lost their damage value at longer ranges, making them a little harder to use. The benefit of this build is that you don't need to use any berserker or dropping your HP to get more damage. We'll go over that later, as you might see on other Anarchist builds. Another benefit to this build is that we have the double Joker benefit. This will help for partners in crime Ace, which is very strong for enemy distraction, and in case one Joker dies, we can easily replace another one without losing that said bonus. The reason why I talk about its importance is because your 158 base value of armor with Anarchist and Suit becomes 241. This will help you tank 1 225 Zeal shot without blowing your 2 seconds of invulnerability. Pretty handy. Also, since we're not using Berserker, this setup allows us to endure heavy hits from snipers, just in case we don't have all full armor at that time. Weapon alternatives for the primary, you could use an Eagle Heavy Rifle, AK-17, AMR, just as long as it's in the 100 damage category for assault rifles, or formerly known as battle rifles. Number 4, Hacker and the Akimbo AK Gen 21s. And the secondary that we have with us is the 5.7 AP pistol. With the Yufeng DLC update, this SMG is very strong and can maintain its ammo very efficiently. The thing about Hacker is that you use your pocket ECM throwable to stun enemies that are nearby, and once you make a kill, you gain 20 health to heal yourself, and you gain 20 dodge for about 30 seconds. So the more kills you do, the better. And the more kills that you do for yourself, you get a lowered cooldown for your throwable. Going over the skill sets, we are maintaining first aid kits to keep ourselves alive in case, well, dodge may not work or if we want to play more aggressive. Keeping the painkillers route, we can maintain a stronger Inspire when we want to revive our teammates. Keeping Bullseye so when we make a headshot, we can still have a bit of armor left over. Body expertise for all that damage. Sneaky Bastard Basic, Low Blow Basic, and Unseen Strike. This gives us the combination of high dodge and high damage that will basically annihilate anything in our path. Maintaining Professional, like I said in the previous build, we can maintain stability and accuracy to keep our guns accurate. 9 lives and Akimbo Ace, so we have more ammo and more stability to work with. Another thing with the first aid kits is that they're meant to prevent downs, or if you just need quick healing, or said you're caught in a mid-firefight and you just need that health now. Another benefit to this build is that it's high dodge. It's even more than Rogue. It's great for newer players as they can perform said killing enemies, making space, so then they can bring themselves closer to objectives and, like I said, have success in Payday 2, as I mentioned earlier. Another neat thing too that you could do is that it's very low detection. And you have silenced weapons. You could even stealth with this. And if things go south, well, you can go loud right away. With the Unseen Strike and Akimbos, you have very high burst damage. You can melt dozers very quickly with this. The trick with Unseen Strike is that you take a hit, you don't take any other hit for 4 seconds, then you have 6 seconds of uninterruptible extra crits. I know that's a mouthful, but basically put, don't get hit for 4 seconds, and you got 6 seconds of fun. The only problem with this build is that it suffers from fall damage. As I mentioned earlier, SMGs are in that category. So when it comes to Hacker and this build, I recommend staying close in quarters and not to take far enemy fights with this. So any long range maps, you have to find a way to get closer to the enemy or play a little more patiently. Another benefit to this build is that we're using the AP pistol for shields. The only thing is, we need to keep that damage value above 128. There's a neat little attachment called the Flash Hider, so then we can get 1 hit breakpoints on light enemies or shields, or 2 hits with heavy units. So if you see here with my DSOD tip video, kind of briefly explain some of the breakpoints that are needed within Payday 2, and this one is no different. If you don't have the Ufang DLC or want to try something different, I recommend the Akimbo Mark 10s or the Akimbo Patchets if you don't have the DLC. But I strongly recommend you get it because this SMG is extremely powerful, even the single variant. Number 3 with armor and the Gower 3, and the secondary as our CR805 submachine gun. Armor is a very passive and can be potentially aggressive. The idea with armor is very simple. Slap on ICTV and you have enough to tank 2 225 Zeal hits. As I mentioned that number before, that is the common damage you're going to be remembering for Payday 2 Death Sentence 1 down difficulty. So this creates very consistent armor hitting, as you don't need to rely on dodge or set Anarchist armor regen when taking enemy hits. Simply take 2 and get yourself back into cover and you're good to go. Using the Gower 3 rifle, we can maintain long damage and high stability and accuracy like any other weapon. Paired up with the submachine gun, such as the CR805, we have a nice easy backup similar to the first build in case we need to reload or if we just need faster damage, that sort of thing. Going over the skill sense once again, standard Inspire. Having Iron Man Ace, this allows us to have that ICTV armor, as well as Shock and Eye Ace just in case we need to shoot shields or melee them in case they get in your way. Body Expertise Ace once again, as I've shown in the previous builds, this is to help save some of your ammo. And I know headshots can be difficult at times, but with some AI, it's much easier to have the skill, so then you don't have to spend more time trying to precisely click heads with set automatic weapons. So it saves us in the long run. Parkour for ICTV or CTV setups, I don't recommend parkour for anything under those heavier armor sets. So if you're running a suit, lightweight ballistics, or even the heavy ballistics vest, probably don't need it. High value target is a very handy skill, so then you can ping special targets at infinite range, or if you just need to deliver more damage to said special target. Keeping with 9 lives and a skill that I briefly mentioned earlier, Berserker. The lower HP that you have, the higher damage you do. The trick with armor here is that you have 230 HP. So if you see a Zeal enemy unit and your armor's broken, just take 1 hit and get yourself back into cover, and then you have full damage to deliver. Other things to note about this build is that it's very high ammo sustain and very easy to use. Like I said, these builds are meant for high carry and simplicity, so wanted to make sure that you guys can handle it as well. And with the battle rifles, you can easily maintain a lot of ammo when taking down enemies. With body expertise ace and berserker ace, you can keep the guns at high. When your armor breaks, make sure you land a bullseye or get your butt back into cover so you don't go down again with this build. Alternative primary weapons to this rifle is similar to the first one. You can use any 100 damage variant rifle, Eagle Heavy, AK-17, AMR, that sort of thing. Number 2, Crewchief with the Rattlesnake Sniper Rifle and the Krinkov Submachine Gun. Now, I talked about sniper rifles briefly earlier into the video, and they don't suffer from damage fall off. Again, they're very strong, and I recommend folks try them out if they want to do some big AoE damage with a skill that I'm going to go over. With this Crewchief setup, you could be both aggressive and passive with the first aid kits. Crewchief has a very high health pool for you to maintain, and once you get a Joker, you can take 225 shots and still live. But if you don't have that Joker, you're not going to be able to survive those 2 shots, assuming you're at full health. Going over the skill set, we have Inspire, but we don't have Painkillers. So if you're going to revive somebody, make sure the area is clear, throw a flashbang, and then go to get them on their feet. Without that Painkillers bonus, they're going to be very vulnerable to enemy hits. The difference between this build and the other builds is that it's using Hostage Taker. Hostage Taker means any civilian that you have tied down, dominated cop, or Joker on your side, you're going to gain some health every 5 seconds. And with 2 Jokers, and the way Crewchief works, you're going to get yourself a lot of health for you to work with. Stepping into snipers, there's a skill called Graze. Graze does an AoE kill when you perform a headshot. And with the Rattlesnake Sniper, once you make a headshot, all enemies behind it will be eliminated, making it very easy to pick off heads and quickly swap to another target for you to aim with. With Graze A's, you can clear hallways very easily, or if you see an enemy spawn point, you can take advantage of when they're coming out. Once you make that headshot, everything behind it, like I said, is going to be dead. Bullseye just to keep our armor and health safe. Unseen strike and high value target. As I mentioned earlier, this is primarily to help for dozers, not necessarily to critically take care of specials. And once again, 9 lives, blah blah blah. The benefits of Crewchief is that yourself and your team becomes very tanky. I have a guide here kind of showcasing the benefits that Crewchief has to offer. And the differences are very, very huge. So if you get other players that play, say, Stoic, Kingpin, Muscle, Hacker, or any other variant perk deck, the benefits continue to show. First aid kits for this build as just in case you need more health, or if you get caught, say, around a corner. And of course, if you're sniping, you can pop one of these around a corner and say if you miss your shot, or if you get rushed by some crazy enemy spawn, you have the first aid kits to help you survive. However, the only bad thing about this build is that it's very dependent on Jokers. Like I said, you need one to tank 2 shots for your health. However, just like the first build, if you have 2 Jokers, it'll help you and your team immensely. Jokers are very, very good for everybody that is playing. Another benefit to the snipers is that there's no damage fall off, and it's very ammo efficient with Graze Ace. So once you make a headshot, you can easily grab your ammo that you created. Hell, even your teammates will thank you for playing a sniper sometimes. The only problem with the sniper is that you don't want to attach a silencer to it. Once you put a silencer on it, it'll drop the damage breakpoint lower than 255. So you can't do one-shot heavies to the head. The power of this build is that it is very strong and it helps even newer players get their feet onto the ground. I have a clip of myself and another individual literally carrying 2 complete newbies on Goat Simulator. And by taking advantage of enemy spawns, creating Jokers, trading hostages, Crewchief is a very strong deck to play. So if you're looking to help yourself and your team, grab a couple of Jokers, maybe some first aid kits to heal yourself, and a high damage weapon. Believe me, Crewchief will carry your games. You can use the R700 or the Repeater as an alternate sniper rifle. Literally the dice and Kev show. Finally, number 1 with Anarchist and the Contractor Sniper Rifle, and the CR805 submachine gun. I've already went over the benefits and how strong Gray's Ace is. Once you hit an enemy on the head, it'll wave clear the entire hallway or enemy spawns. The cool thing about Anarchist with this build is that it's utilizing Berserker, which means high damage. And with the fast rate of fire from the sniper rifle mixed in with Berserker, you can literally map clear the entire place. So this build has crits, Zerk, and Grays, basically everything you need. This build is still using Inspire Aced. Another thing with Anarchist is one Joker in this setup with Partners in Crime Ace. This way we can spend more points on DPS, but we can maintain ourselves with that breakpoint I mentioned earlier for our armor and health. Grays is set up a little bit differently here because the Contractor has a little bit less accuracy. This way we can maintain our accuracy so we don't miss shots even though we hit the head. Bullseye, once again, completely optional for Anarchist, but I still recommend it. Nothing fancy in the Technician tree. The Ghost tree allows us to have high value target and low blow ace. This allows us to deal a lot of damage on special targets, and of course keeping crits for when we come across heavier units. Similar to the armor setup, Berserker Ace, this is how we can have a lot of damage into our build. This is where the Contractor and any other 168 sniper shines. The cool thing about this build is that you don't need perfect aim. Hell, even mine is terrible at times. And once again, there's no damage fall off on snipers, and with Gray's Ace, it's very ammo efficient. The only difference with this build compared to the other Anarchist and armor setup is that we can't take a 225 hit in order to lower HP. The way to do this is to use a Molotov, because the way Anarchist works is half your health is converted into armor. So the easy way to get yourself lower HP is using Molotov, throw it on the ground. I like to wait for 5 health hits after my armor breaks, step out, wait for 1 armor tick to regen, and take another 2 hits. Another benefit to the sniper is that it's silenced. This allows us to quickly scope in with the skill Professional. And this also helps to draw enemy aggro towards your Joker instead of you. Another thing too that I like to stress is that snipers are very strong, and with this setup I can't stress how good this build is whenever I need a carry. Hell, I've done almost 800 kills on White House with some pubs, getting them their achievements to finish the heist. Another alternative to the Contractors that you can use the Grom or Leben Sauger to this build. Since we're using crits, you will have to adjust the concealment on your weapons in order to fit low blow ace appropriately. So the last thing I kind of want to put out is, I know this isn't exciting or any new builds for anybody that is looking for new exciting content for Payday 2. The game's pretty old and with slow updates and lots of weird changes, like I said, the damage fall off that nobody loves. But at least I wanted to present what is good for said end updates for PC and not necessarily console. You could probably use some of these for console, I'm not saying you can't, but you can easily make do with how many variations that are in the game. Obviously, each build will vary per person on how they play, whether they're more passive or more aggressive, so one may play better than the other, or depending how they experience with other players. However, all these builds are the best in my eyes for helping the team, carrying the map with kills and objectives, and making sure that people succeed when they need to get their set achievements or just to have fun. Anyways, last remark, have fun being the best in your group with these builds. If you got any suggestions on how to make them even better, I'm all open ears. I'd like to see what you'd say. Otherwise, until then, I'll see you next time.